Hello, everyone. So, for this week's episode of Aligned and Soulful Success, I'm sharing part of a recording from the masterclass I had last week on finding your niche to attract dream clients you love. Now, the entire masterclass, if you attended, was supposed to be 90 minutes, but I went over because I coached some people on the call. So I've included part of that workshop recording here. If you would like to hear the entire recording and access that right now, there's a link available in the show notes for you to access it. Now, the recording's only going to be available for a week, so I would encourage you to access it and listen to it soon. And I hope you enjoy this episode. All right. So I want to first acknowledge all of you for coming today, for choosing to be here, and also for choosing to live as a soulful entrepreneur. Being an entrepreneur is not for the faint of heart, right? It will show up everything, all the things that are inside will show up right in front of you for you to handle. And not everybody is in a place in their life to be able to do that. And so I know that the people that I work with and that I love to serve, their work is so needed in the world today, right? And so if you can show up confidently and be able to serve the people, that ripple effect is amazing. So that's why I'm doing this. And that's why I do this, especially in this world, right? I want you to opulently shine and attract those people and help those people and support those people, then they can go out in the world. And that's how we're going to make the world a better place, right? It's through our efforts and how we show up and how we help. And we all have our own way of doing that, right? So it takes courage. So thank you for even showing up and doing that work. Okay. And so some of you know me and some of you don't. So I'll introduce myself briefly. My name is Kavita Milwani, and I'm a spiritual success and business coach. And I've actually been a serial entrepreneur for almost 20 years. Okay. And have been coaching since 2014. And as you know, in the coaching industry, that's a long time, right? A lot of people have not been coaching that long. So I've been doing this for a while. And through that time, have worked with mentors and coaches and have varied experiences with that, right? And have done the niche switching, I can't pronounce it. I've done that. I've done all of it. Okay. And even to a point where I was called to do this, to work as a business and success coach, and was told by mentors, Kavita, you're not really a business coach, right? You're not really a business coach. And so I didn't follow my intuition and my guidance, and I knew this was what I was supposed to do. So I would try something else, and I would try something else, and it just wasn't aligned, right? So it just wasn't working. I was like, I don't know what's going wrong. Everybody else seems to know what they're doing, right? So I don't want you to do that. I don't want that to happen for you, okay? So that's why I said we need more people that are soulful and that can see another person. And one of my, I guess, superpowers is that I can see people and I can see their strengths. Can't always do that for myself though, right? So, so I can help others do that. Right? And so I help what I say as soulful entrepreneurs, empathic entrepreneurs, opulently shine their life so they can have a purposeful, profitable business aligned with their higher purpose. That's so important to me. Right. And so some of you in the chat have talked about it doesn't feel in alignment. There's something there, right? There's something there, and that's important. And so really briefly, I'm going to also talk about the parts of what we're going to talk about today. Talk a little bit, but not that much, about why niching matters, why you should have some focus, okay? And how having that aligned niche can really impact your business in a positive way. And I started talking about that, if you were paying attention, with that first chakra energy of that groundedness and that confidence of how you can show up. And so I'm sure a lot of you have heard all the dialogue out there about the importance of this. So I don't want to spend a ton of time on that, but I'll talk a little bit about that. Okay.
I'll also talk about how to overcome some common challenges that entrepreneurs face when they're choosing a niche. And some of it you've already shared in the box. I'm multi-passionate. I have so many ways I want to serve, right? I've also heard I don't want to be limited. I don't want to just do the same thing all the time, right? So those are some of the things. So really uncovering more of that. And then we're going to experience and learn what I believe is one of the most aligned ways to uncover your niche. And we'll actually work through some of that today. Okay. And I will give you as much exercises as we have. We'll do some visualization. Okay. And then I will coach at the end. And I'd like to be completely transparent. As you probably already guessed, at one point, I might offer some coaching to work with me. Okay. So I'm just being fully transparent right now that at one point in this, I will be offering some coaching. No obligation. You don't have to do that. Even just attending today, you will receive value. Okay. All right. Let's start with figuring out how do you know you actually need to find a niche, right? How do you know? One is that I talked a little bit earlier. I mentioned that you're not attracting your dream clients. Okay. You're feeling some confusion, overwhelmed when it comes to running your business. You're not sure where to go, what to do. Okay. You have a deep calling to serve others in some way, and you know that you provide value in the world. But it's just that part of the business where it's like talking about it and calling the people in that you're struggling with. Okay. And so, as I shared earlier, I call this a class, a master class, because I want you to learn and actually experience. So before I was an entrepreneur, I was a teacher. Okay. And so I bring some of that like teaching into all the things that I do. You can't, for those of you that have been teachers before, you can't get rid of that teacher part of you. It's always there. Right. So it's going to continue. Right. And I will say that the way I work is a mix of inner and outer work, but the inner work needs to come first. I remember this specific moment where I was setting up at a jewelry exhibit, and I was standing there, and there was other people in the room, and there was a couple of booths there that had crowds. Right, they had a crowd of people, and I was watching, and I looked at the other people that had tables that didn't have the crowds, and we would look at each other and say, oh my God, what is, everybody, you knew we were thinking similar things of like, what's going on? Why is everybody going to those tables, right? And so when it was time to clean up, a lot of us wanted to see like what was going on with those other tables, right? Why did they have the crowds? I'm sure some of us do that sometimes, right? We look at our competitors and be like, what are they doing? And so then the niche sometimes is based on that. Maybe not always, but sometimes, right? So we go to see, and both the people with the booths that had like the crowds, there wasn't anything that different. There wasn't anything that different, right? One of them had, at that time, it was really popular. I'm going to be aging myself right now, to have the bottle jewelry, the Coke bottle kind of jewelry, where it's the bottle cap, and they would make pendants and necklaces and all that. And so she had that, right? So it was really, everybody who wanted that were just going there. She had, and that's all that she had, was that kind of jewelry. But the other person really didn't have necessarily anything like that. And I still, I would always wonder, like, how did she have those people, right? And so I left there, and of course feeling a little discouraged, right? And not wondering, and still wondering what happened, right? And so later on, I was able to I looked her up online, right? I was like looking her up, like, who is this person and what is it? And so she created a community for herself, right? And so she had actually personally invited a lot of those people to the show. through personal connections, right? She kind of had that authentic connection of who she was and her story through the jewelry. And so that's why she had people there, right? So it wasn't necessarily the thing she was offering. Okay. One person, yeah, it was. She was offering something like the bottle cap jewelry that people wanted. The other person didn't have something that different, right? But it was bringing herself into her what she had in front of her. Okay. So I don't have that jewelry business anymore. Actually, what got me out of that jewelry business was working with my first coach in 2011. Okay. And that's when I found my first coach that I work with. And her name is Jody. And we figured out together that I was just following what other people wanted. And that's when I started looking at doing this work. So you've had two aspects of my story, right? I talked about some parts of being told by other mentors and coaches that you're not a business coach, right? We had that. And then we had the story about the jewelry, right? And now, right now, I get to work and serve clients in a way that feels completely aligned because I stepped into that, right? So I'll go here. So here are the challenges. Serial entrepreneur, skipping from niche to specialty. I didn't talk about the certifications and training, but I'll add that in. Listening to others despite my own inner voice. And then I lost track of why I started my business and comparison, right? So those are some of the themes that I was hoping that you could receive from my story. Okay. Now skipping more certifications and training. I have so many certifications, ladies. Like if I sat here and listed all the certifications, you'd be like, all right, when are you going to be done with that? Okay. Because that's what I thought the answer was. I thought the answer was, I just need more training, right? I just need to learn more. Now, when I choose to do more and train more, it's because I really want to do it, not because I think that's going to be the difference between my business succeeding to my desired level or not. It's just because, oh, that is something I really want to learn. Okay. So there's a difference. I lost track of why I started my business, right? The comparison, looking at the other people, in the coaching, listening to others despite my own inner wisdom. With the jewelry business, it was fun, but it really wasn't what I wanted to do. I just did it because it was easy, right? My parents had contacts. They were like, why don't you just do this? So listening to others, right? Even the coaching business, listening to people telling me who I wasn't, right? So those are some of the themes that that happened, right? And so I didn't talk about this part of my story, right? There are a lot of other things that I can talk about, but I don't want this to be all about me. So that's for another day. What are some of the things that come up for you, maybe fears, concerns around finding your niche? What are some fears and concerns around finding your niche? Now there's comparisons. Comparison I see there, right? Okay, so the challenge and risk of following. Oh yeah, limiting yourself. Those are some of the themes. So limiting yourself, yes. Yes, limiting yourself, doubts and fears, right? This some people have, not as many, but can I really help others with that problem? Okay. What if you pick the wrong one? That's something that people tell me. What if I pick the wrong niche, right? Will I limit myself? Yeah, I just saw that in the chat box. Will I limit myself and who I can actually help? I want to help a lot of people. Is there demand for my niche, right? Will people actually want this? Will I be successful? Those are some of the things that I've heard.